Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Courageous Cancer Warriors. Today we have an amazing guest, Ms. Kylene Terhune, who is a Hodgkin's lymphoma warrior. She is a functional gut health coach, a certified personal trainer, and an author of a new book, which I'm super excited for her to share with us today. Kylene, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited anytime I get to talk about integrative cancer care. It's such a passion of mine. And you have to take the hard things that you've experienced in life and use them to help other people. And so anytime I get to talk about my journey, I hope that it's accomplishing that, and I'm really excited to do it. So thank you.
So yeah, thank you again for being here. I was looking forward to this conversation. So tell us a little bit about your cancer journey.
Sure. So I was actually a functional health coach for about 2 years prior to my diagnosis. So I had been getting into nutrition and lifestyle, and I had even started working in that as my career and helping other women get healthy. And my body had really seen dramatic improvement, and I was feeling better. I was getting healthier. All these things were sort of lining up. And then in February of 2019, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that was a little bit of a surprise. So I really had to start digging in, doing research, learning about, because when you become a health coach, you end up specializing in different things, right? And so for me, my specialty was gut health. I really, really loved it. And I just loved how it impacted every aspect of your life. And so of course, I was not a specialist in cancer, but of course, as soon as you get diagnosed, you go, well, better learn about this. And so I started doing all my research and pulling information and figuring out what treatments were available, whether they were conventional or alternative. What did I want to do? I had to really pray. I had to really think it through. I had to know what my options were. And so what I ultimately decided to do was pursue conventional treatment, so chemotherapy. But I really, with my background and work in functional medicine, I really wanted to incorporate that. And so I reached out to a group that I'm part of and said, hey, is there such a thing as like a functional oncologist or an integrative oncologist, something like that? And sure enough, there was, and they connected me, and I got on a call with her and asked just a lot of questions, and ultimately decided that what I wanted to do was use a local oncologist in addition to this integrative oncologist, so that I could pair conventional treatment right alongside things like vitamin C IVs and supplements to protect my organs from the toxicity of the chemo that I would be on and everything like that. So one of the things that really encouraged me as I kind of stepped into this process was doing my research. I realized that cancer and a lot of chronic diseases start developing in your body anywhere from 7 to 15 years prior to being diagnosable. And so that really encouraged me, because when I looked back at my life, that timeline made sense. 2 years prior to diagnosis, when I had been doing all the things and eating healthy and, everything that I could possibly do. When I do something, I go in 100%. And so when I was a health coach, I walked the talk. And so that timeline didn't make sense. However, when I thought about it coming and beginning in my body 7, 10, even 15 years prior, that made so much sense to me. And so I went into this with a mindset of, I've learned a lot. I'm going to continue to learn more through this journey. I'm going to get through it with this integrative combination of care. And then I'm going to use everything that I've gleaned through my career so far, and everything I'm going to continue to learn and practice to keep myself in remission. And so that's sort of the mindset that I took into it.
Wow. And so through all of that, because you really dug deep and you studied and you were really clear as to what path you wanted to take, what was one of the things that you learned that surprised you?
Well, there was a couple things. One, I think if you want to, coming from the sort of holistic health perspective, I think one of the things that surprised me when I was doing my research was the disease that I had, Hodgkin's lymphoma, is less than 1% of diagnosed cancer. So leave it to me. I'm always a special flower in every category. I'm going to be that unique person. So less than 1% of cancers. But what was surprising to me was in this particular cancer, the efficacy of conventional medicine is very, very high. So that's really weird because it's a really low percent of people that get this cancer. It's not one of the big ones where people like spend all this money into research, right? Like we throw money at breast cancer and we throw money at prostate cancer and all these things because a lot of people get those cancers. Not a lot of people get Hodgkin's, but the efficacy of treatment is like super, super high. So that's a little surprising in a good way, in a positive way. Another thing I think that's a little surprising, although maybe not so much when you kind of dig into the underlying reasons why, is it's very difficult to find specific studies or resources or testimonials of people getting treated efficiently for Hodgkin's any other way than conventional medicine. And so, you know, it's not that people haven't done it. It's not that there are not therapies out there. It's not that people, you know, I did find some women that strictly do it through lifestyle and nutrition and are successful, but that required an extreme amount of dedication for the rest of their life. And I was kind of looking at that thinking, you know, I kind of want to be able to get through this and live my life. I don't want to never, ever, ever have some ice cream with a little bit of real sugar in it again. I never, you know, I don't want to get through this and then have to stress, you know, that if I travel or if I get stressed out about something or if I do one wrong move in my life that it's, you know, that my tumors are going to turn into 2 or 3 tumors. And that's what these women were having to live with, is constant monitoring. And, you know, if I'm not strict enough, then this grows. And so what I was learning was conventional medicine can actually knock it out. And in my situation, I caught it so early. And in fact, I think my lifestyle really slowed it down and controlled it because I only had 1 active tumor. And I looked back in my phone because I was like, you know what, there's no way that this happened overnight. There's no way. I looked back at my phone and I found pictures from at least 2 years prior. That was the earliest I could find a picture where my neck was turned a certain way and the bulge was there. So I knew that what I had been doing already had either stopped or slowed or, you know, whatever. It was in control to some extent. So I did take a long time to think about it and ultimately decided, okay, conventional really is going to knock this out. I got a second opinion on just to kind of get information. I went to Chicago and they did the staging and they gave me a treatment plan. So then I came back and the treatment plan was only 3 months. I came back to the local oncologist. That's not the standard of care. The standard of care is 6. So I would have had double the amount of chemo infusions had I not gone to that hospital, that physician. And so I was really, really lucky to do that. And then I ultimately decided, okay, as long as my local oncologist decides to do the least amount of treatment necessary, which with the information I had was 3 months of chemotherapy, and I compare this with an integrative oncologist who's going to target supplements specifically to me to protect my body while I undergo this toxic treatment, I can get this done in 3 months and then I can support my body moving forward. And so ultimately, that's kind of what I decided to do.
Wow. And so that's a lot to take on. And you, with your background, you at least had some knowledge, but you know, I'm like that too, where I've worked in oncology for 20 years, but I still felt like I got run over by an 18-wheeler. So
yeah,
nobody can prepare you for that. But what was one of the things that you did in order to just keep a really healthy and positive mindset? Because you were on top of it, right? Like you were like, I got this.
Yeah. Well, it's not to say that it's not hard. I had my moments, you know, I had the days where I had complete emotional breakdowns. For the most part, though, I was able to keep a positive mentality. I think that boils down to kind of several different things. One, I have a really strong faith, and I knew that whatever the outcome was, there was going to be a purpose for it. And that God had a plan for my life. So that mindset and that relationship that I have with God really, I mean, I can't really stress how much of a difference that makes in my mentality. 2, I have a really, really supportive family. So my parents were extremely supportive. My husband he has a very positive, go get it. We're going to accomplish this. We're going to get through this mentality. So he was very supportive. And 3, I just have really worked throughout my life to have a positive mentality. I've been through a lot of really, really, really hard things, from you know, being molested when I was a child, to being divorced as a young adult, to going through, I mean, just a lot of different, you know, quote unquote traumas or stressors in my life. And, you know, I think that God used those in my life to kind of mentally prepare me to how to handle challenges.
Mm.
And because I've lived through them so far and I'm still here, I know that whatever happens, you know, you're going to get through it. It's going to be okay. There's going to be a purpose. And every single time something quote unquote bad has happened to me in my life, something good has come of it. And I think part of that is because of the mentality I go into it with. What lessons am I going to learn? What did I learn the last time I went through something hard? How did that change me? And so I really went into this knowing that there were going to be dramatic lessons. And I was really open to whatever those were. And I was like, God, what, how do you want me to think about my life when I come through this? What aspects of my life do you want to be different? Like, what do you want to grow in me? What do you want to change in me? And so I think that combination of those things kind of helped me get through it. And I really tried to think future thoughts. I shared before we started recording, I'm moving tomorrow. We've been building a house for almost 2 years now.
Wow.
And so when I was going through treatment, I kept thinking about living in that house and how I wanted to use that space and what I wanted to do when we moved. And so thinking really future, happy, positive things about, you know, getting well and healing and being in remission and being able to accomplish different things in life once I get there.
I love that. And visualization is so important, right? Like it works. We know it works.
Yes.
And one of the things that I love that you've accomplished from this process is you wrote this amazing book. So can we talk about that?
Yes, please. So it's called Healthy Through Hodgkins. And this is not something I wanted to do. I'll be honest with you. In fact, I struggled with the idea of being a health coach, getting diagnosed with cancer, and what in the world was my platform going to be? You know, I obviously had to kind of take a break when I was going through everything and just really focus on myself. And I did not want cancer to define me. I didn't want to call myself a cancer survivor. I didn't want to join survivor groups. I didn't want to label myself as, you know, cancer anything. I wanted it to be something in my past. I didn't want to become part of my identity. I was like, this is something that is happening to me that I will go through like any other trauma and it will be done. I don't want to associate with myself longer than I have to. And so the concept of creating this entire platform based around cancer, because I had been through it, I hated it. I didn't want to do it.
Right.
But I went through, this is crazy. I look back at some of the things I did and I'm like, Kylene, you're nuts. Why'd you do this? I traveled across the country. I live in Ohio. I went to California 2.5 weeks after treatment was done. So I had been through 6 infusions of chemotherapy and my hair was gone and, you know, it causes so much fatigue and all this kind of stuff. And your body's trying to recover. And 2.5 weeks later, I decided to go to this conference. So I did, and I made it, and I felt pretty good, actually. It worked out okay. But I went to this conference, and I was thinking, you know, I don't want to have anything to do with my diagnosis. Well, someone there was brave enough to tell me, she's like, Kylene, you don't really have a choice. This has happened to you. You're going to be known as the Hodgkins girl. You need to talk about it. And so we started talking about what this might look like. I was like, yeah, but I'm a gut health specialist. I like talking about the gut. I like talking about this. I like talking about that. And as we started kind of going through this, I was like, oh my gosh, everything that I know as a practitioner, everything that I do working with my clients is what I used going through treatment. And that's exactly what cancer patients need, is a focus on healthy nutrition. It's a focus on protecting your gut because chemo trashes it. It's, you know, talking about releasing emotional toxicity and all these different aspects of your lifestyle and your mentality and all these things that I love to talk about completely and 100% applied to cancer patients. And so I started kind of thinking about that. And so that's what my book is really about. It talks about all the different aspects that you can address this from. And it's not just, you know, keeping a positive mentality during treatment. It's how you can support your body. It's how you can protect your body. It's how you can move forward to live a toxin-free lifestyle afterwards, because we know that a large percent of cancers are impacted by nutrition. We know that a large percent are impacted by environmental toxins. And I'm actually going through a nutrition oncology course right now, and I'm learning about all the details and all the percentages. It really, truly is fascinating how much these things can impact our ability to develop cancer, prevent cancer, or stay in remission from cancer. And so I kind of started to understand, hey, this is really important. And maybe I can encourage somebody, maybe I can help them think through this. Maybe I can empower them in some way. And that felt really good to me. I didn't really want to, wallow in the victimhood of my disease, but the idea of getting through it and being able to encourage somebody else that it's possible to get through it, that made me feel good. So I started writing the book literally on the plane ride home, because at this same conference, there was a publisher who said, there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to sit down, lock yourself in a room, and write a book in 3 days. And I was like, yeah, right. Okay. All right. Well, I'll do it.
Game on, right?
I was like, I'm up for a challenge. Yeah. I'm up for a challenge. So I had a really long flight day home, and there was a multiple hour layover. So I took that entire day, the flights, the layover, everything other than eating and running to the bathroom. I was writing this book. And then the next 2, maybe 3 days when I was home, I basically locked myself in the room and I just brain dumped everything that I wanted to talk about, everything that I wanted to share with someone, everything I had just experienced. And I did it through the lens of my personal journey, but then trying to get whoever's reading it to think about changes that they can make in their life at different phases, at different stages of the journey that they're in. And so we do talk about emotional toxicity. We do talk about nutrition. We do talk about lifestyle. We talk about all of these things. And I share little funny stories about my life, and I share my experience through treatment and everything. So then, of course, it did take several months after that to edit, to add, to get contributions, to have somebody edit my book, and go through the publishing process. But essentially, the brain dump took about 3 days. And I think that's just because I really wanted to share it.
Yeah, right. And it's so amazing that where you were standing was, I want nothing to do with this. And it just, the second you allowed those gates to open, it just flowed right through. And you have an incredible message. I am so excited to read this book. Now, how can people find you?
Thank you. Yes. So I do have a platform. One of the things I noticed was that there are Facebook groups for Hodgkins. However, when I got diagnosed, I really did not want that in my feed because they're scary. There's a lot of parents posting about fears that they have because their children are diagnosed, or there's somebody that is really experiencing a traumatic side effect, posting pictures or asking for advice. And some people might be able to handle that and find it encouraging and supportive. I didn't want my mind to go to, this person is experiencing this, maybe I will too. I didn't want to allow certain thoughts into my mind so that I would go into this fearfully. I wanted to go into it and just deal with whatever happened to me step by step, but remain hopeful the whole time. And so I really kind of understood that there's this gap, and there needs to be sort of a platform that is specifically for Hodgkin's patients, but is very encouraging. It talks about mindset and nutrition and hope and encouragement, and the fact that you can get through this. And oh, by the way, if you're doing chemotherapy, there are ways that you can support your body where you don't have to get through this and then live with 10 side effects like neuropathy and heart damage and lung issues. I mean, these are real things that people experience after ABVD. And so I really wanted to create that platform. So the book obviously is part of that. It encourages people, and you can get that Healthy Through Hodgkins, or sorry, actually it's my website, KyleneTerhune.com/book. Or you can follow me on Instagram for almost daily posts at Healthy Through Hodgkins, or on Facebook, Healthy Through Hodgkins. So there's multiple different ways we can connect. So obviously the book shares my story, but Instagram and Facebook are going to talk about, specific things, medicinal mushrooms or green tea or emotional toxicity or whatever it is that we're talking about that particular day.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so important. And I agree with you with the feeds, like some of it, I mean, you're talking to the person who was on the front lines with metastatic cancer patients and completely changed her job because I was fearful not that I didn't want to help people, but I was fearful that I would manifest this even more in my life, because I was really lucky that I caught mine very early. Surgery for me was curative, and I knew that I needed to get healthy before I could continue on. And that's what
Wow.
I hear from you, like, especially with the feeds. There's so much information out there, and we need to have a powerful stand and get the right information in the right hands to people. And so I just commend you and thank you for who you are and what you're doing for this community and for the world, that this book is going to truly help a lot of people. And just thank you for being you, and taking, it's not an easy thing to, one, have the conversation, and to, two, put it in writing for others to read, right? So making yourself very vulnerable and just being a stand for change is amazing. So
Thank you.
I truly am grateful for you to share your message. I can't wait for people to come back and tell me how this book changed their lives. And we want to hear from you, so you're always welcome back. Let
Thank
us
you.
know how it goes with your new program, your schooling. Definitely give us an update. We'd love to hear it.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm having so much fun just learning more and more and more. And yeah, I hope to bring that information to everyone that is going through this disease. And I think the biggest thing that I want to leave people with is that mentality is just so crucial in healing. It's so crucial. So find a way that you can really hold on to that hope. And my hope is that my platforms encourage you and help you to do that. So that's kind of my goal.
And they definitely will. I mean, I stand in, if we could help one person a day, we've done our job. So I know you've helped so many more than that. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks.